Miss that. How are you doing, lovely?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a
Good.
busy morning so far. I'd planned on all sorts of stuff to be talking about, and of course I haven't written it down, and so I'm gonna be winging it. So
You'll be fine.
yeah, I'm sure I will. It's just, have you got anything to share this wonderful Monday morning? Or
Just interesting with doing fasts. It seems to slow down weight release for me.
for you? Okay.
Yeah,
So what's that telling you?
don't fast.
Might
Or
be.
maybe for not so long.
Yeah, I think maybe cutting down. And I think for you, because of what you're dealing with, and we won't go into that, but the intermittent fasting would probably be your best bet.
Yeah,
And so,
okay.
so you're getting a steady input of, I mean, doing broth fasting is going to be fine, I think, but you don't like broth too much. So it's probably not a sort of not a thing to go to. So I would suggest doing intermittent fasting and shifting and changing your window.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, I don't know what your eating window normally is. It's
Mine's 12 to 8.
12 to 8. So you've got an
Yeah,
eight
but I'm
hour.
I'm I'm usually eating 12 and 6.
Okay. So you've got a 6 hour eating window, actually.
Right, okay, yep.
Yeah. So what you could do is you could reduce that eating window by an hour or so, or
Yep,
you could increase the eating window
yep.
by
Or a
an
bit
hour
of
or so.
both.
Yeah. So you can, just because with metabolic flexibility, it is all about changing things up. So you can increase your fat levels at one day, and then you can decrease your fat levels in another day. And then increasing your eating window. So your body doesn't go, oh, I know I'm going to get food here. And I know I'm going to get food here. And so basically it's a little bit like causing a little bit of stress, but not a major stress in your body.
Right,
A
yeah.
little bit of stress. It's a bit like the cold, hot and cold. You're causing a little bit of stress to keep you on your toes, so to speak,
Yes.
your metabolism. So I would suggest with you making sure you're getting good levels of protein and then increasing your fat levels and decreasing them. And that'd be interesting to see going forward what you do. Mm.
Very interesting because like this week I've gone no release, no release, no release. Had a very stressful day, went up. And then last night was the first time I had garlic butter with my steak and down 500 grams this morning.
Oh.
So yeah, interesting. But having that garlic butter, I did feel queasy for a couple of hours afterwards. But I know adding fat, that's what happens. Yeah.
Did you make your own garlic butter? Yeah.
Yes,
With fresh garlic or garlic powder?
yes.
Fresh
No,
garlic.
fresh garlic.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean,
I think it's just my body getting used to the fat. It's not used to it. That's the thing.
yeah. And so many of us are guilty, have been guilty in the past of doing low fat things. And
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with that either. So, learning like we're learning it's what I've learned is some days my body really craves fat and other days I don't want any. And so I think it's about listening to that,
Yes.
really listening to your intuitive self. And
Yeah.
so that's what I think is the key to this, because someone mentioned in the group about, that there's new research been shown that they're showing up that the high fat diet isn't probably the way to go long term. And they're probably right, but it's over such a short period of time, it's very, very difficult to say. But what we are learning is to increase your fat so that you're getting enough. I feel that the huge benefits short term, and short term can be a few years, is by having high fat, we're actually nutrifying a very depleted brain,
Mm.
because our brains are hugely built on fat. Our neurons are fat. And so I think what's been happening over the years is we've been having a lot of polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs for short, but the polyunsaturated fatty acids are actually depleting our bodies so much and causing a huge amount of inflammatory stress that what we need to do is we need to sort of really sort of bring sort of the pendulum completely to the other side. So if we look at what we've been feeding ourselves, because it's been the way, is the high carbohydrate, low fat, but the fat we have been having have been the PUFAs. And so basically they've been causing a huge amount of inflammation. The carbohydrates, the cereals, and the chemicals within them have been causing a high amount of inflammation. So our diet has been totally inflammatory. And I think this is where the part of the carnivore, where the carnivore diet comes in, is basically to so totally reduce that inflammatory load so our body can repair and heal itself. And I do feel it takes quite a long time. Depends on how long you've been on the planet. I've been on this planet for 65 years. And although I've been following healthy regimes, for most of that time, if I look at it, it's been unhealthy for me. And so what it's taken a good few years to really swing the pendulum so that my body can find a balance. And I would say it's taken since 2010, when I was really quite strict with the anti-inflammatory, and then to do the carnivore 4 years ago. And the 4 years of that, 3.5 years I've been doing it strictly. It's taken that amount of time to bring my body into balance, where I can, if I choose, go and eat more or less whatever I wanted. I don't do the gluten because I am very gluten intolerant, but I can have other things. That's where I want everyone to be, really, where basically we can heal our bodies so that when we do go on holiday or when we want to go out for a meal, or we can choose whatever and it doesn't affect us. And I think that's where everyone needs to be. And so, people are saying, oh, you shouldn't do this extreme, and you can't live that way. Well, you can, because we, as humans, we've evolved with mainly eating meat, but we did have fruit at a certain time of year to build fat reserves, and as in padding, not brain fat, but padding, so that we had reserves, so that when we did go to the lean years, the lean months of the winter, we were actually benefit from it. And so I just wanted to bring that in a little bit today, because the questions that have been asked, and the thing is we're all learning all the time. And the article by Dr. McCullough really makes you think. And I would say, though, with Dr. McCullough, he has been on the low carb, high fat thing for very many years. And he's been talking about ketosis. I can't remember what he called it now. It's basically where you swing into ketosis and out of ketosis. And basically, which is what I recommend when clients have got down to the weight they want to do, and then go into and out of ketosis. And I think that's probably the healthiest way of being, so that you don't have the restrictions. So if you were on my program, Ultimate Detox, and you have reached your goal, we would then get you to do 1 day a week, or maybe 2 days a week, but not together, not consecutively, where you swing into and out of ketosis. And going out of ketosis is basically when you start to use sugars as energy again. And so the healthiest ways of doing that is probably having some fruit, or maybe a bit of rice, or whatever rocks your boat, really. And so I Yeah. So that hopefully will answer the question. And I'm not going to go into the science of it, otherwise we'll be here all day. And you won't want to listen to me burble on about it all day, but I will do a video around it in the next week or so. And so that's that. I think I was going to talk about something else. Oh, fat fasting. That's what I was going to talk about today. And that goes completely the opposite of what I've just been talking about, because what they're saying is, why would you go on a fat fast? I mean, let's face it, what does that mean? What does a fat fast look like? Well, a fat fast is basically where you increase your levels of fat to that you're eating is 80% fat and 20% protein. So that's a fat fast. And why? Well, basically, if you look at a fat fast, it's very similar to going on a broth fast or a water fast. Is basically kicks you into ketosis very, very quickly. And what does that mean? It means that you can actually let go of unwanted white fat. So that's why people go on a fat fast. So what does a fat fast look like? Some people love butter and so can easily just eat butter. Personally, not my go-to. I do make I make these chocolates with butter. I sort of brown my butter and then I add ceremonial grade cacao. Now, why ceremonial grade? Well, basically because it is just pure, good quality cacao. And so consequently, it's a really, really good way of getting nutrients into me, but also a good way of getting more fat into me. And so last year, I put myself on a fat fast. I think I lasted about 4 days. And I didn't really see any difference. I think I dropped a little bit of weight, but it came back on. I mean, haven't got weight to lose really. So basically I sort of lost, I think it was 2 kilos, and then it sort of came back on. And so I can't say I felt any different, or I can't say that I really gained a huge amount of benefits. I must say I got quite loose bowels, and that's neither here nor there really. But basically, some people, when they do a fat fast, they do a lot of exercise as well. And not something I would actually recommend you do. Because if you are doing exercise and fasting of any type, you're actually putting your body into a huge amounts of stress. And this is where the cortisols really start rising and start becoming detrimental. So when you're doing a fast of any description, I would recommend not exercising heavy duty. Go for a walk, yeah, or just being out in nature, or but not doing really hard out workouts. Maybe a little bit of yoga or tai chi or something like that would be hugely beneficial to get the body moving, but not necessarily doing a hard out weight bearing exercise. They all have their part to play in a healthy body, but not when you're fasting. And it's when because even with a fat fast, is you will be bringing down your levels of what you're eating, because let's face it, having that amount of fat will actually stop your appetite in its tracks. And so if you find that you start craving when you're on a carnivore or when you're on a low inflammatory program or whatever, is increase the levels of fat if you're struggling, because it could be that your body just needs a input of fat so that your body can deal with something. So that's what it's quite interesting, is the fat fast. It's becoming a bit of a interesting fad. And when people do the fat fast, they also do coffee. And so they add their butter to their coffee. I think some of you have talked to me, I've talked to you about that before. And if you do that, I would encourage you to whisk it. Because if you whisk or use one of those blenders or whatever, if you whisk the coffee and butter, it seems to activate it somehow. And basically, it's a bit like activating water. And a homeopathic remedy, if you tap a homeopathic remedy, it activates it. And it seems like the whisking or the blending with fat and coffee accelerates its ability to help you along the way. So the bulletproof coffee, of course, came along quite a few years ago now, and with the coconut, fractionated coconut oil and butter. And I just recommend that you don't do the coconut oil, simply because I found that around 50% of my clients aren't too good with the coconut oil, and we're all unique in that. And so consequently, I would say is, let's just keep off the coconut oil, try the butter, and see how your body works. Keely, I don't think you do the coffee with the butter.
No, I
No,
don't.
it's not your jam, huh? Yeah. I'd rather have black coffee personally, and then maybe fry some stuff up in butter. But I think that's it's an important component of looking at different ways of doing this. And so that's what I'm here for, is to give you ideas, suggestions, but I'm always going to say is, does it feel right for you to do it? So with you, I think, is you don't really like a lot of fat, and there's a lot of people that don't, and it might make you feel nauseous if you have too much fat. Now, it could be that your body's struggling to digest fat. It could be that your gallbladder is congested, or you might not have a gallbladder.
Don't
And so,
have one.
yeah, so if you haven't got a gallbladder, then it's actually a really important thing that you substitute, you have some sort of digestive enzymes when you're having heavy duty fat. So the ox bile salts is a really good way of getting the digestive enzymes when you're having a meal which has fat in it. As you know, our liver, even if you don't have a gallbladder, our liver still continues to make bile. It's just that it doesn't have that reservoir of having, if you have a high fat meal, what happens is you have a high fat meal, and it gets digested and broken down in the stomach, and then it comes into the small intestine. And then if you've got your gallbladder and it's functioning really well, it'll then spit out this high concentration of bile so that it can be broken down. If you don't have the gallbladder, you've got this trickle feed of bile that comes from the liver into the small intestine. It's just not enough to completely break down that fat level. So if you're just having a steak, for example, and you're not having butter or anything with it, your body could cope with that because it's not got that much fat in it, believe it or not. So, but it's when you have the chicken skins or buttery bites or whatever, your body's going to really struggle, and it make you feel nauseous. It'll make you feel, you get diarrhea, you get all sorts of symptoms, or you just feel generally uncomfortable in your skin. That's the reason why. And that's why the digestive enzymes are particularly useful in that case. I don't always recommend, it's only when you've had your gallbladder removed, really, that we need to really look at that. The thing which it's like, if we keep taking something we don't need all the time, the body then gets lazy. So if you've got a gallbladder, if you've still got a gallbladder, if you're still, hi Garen, if you're struggling with fats and things, then doing a liver gallbladder cleanse would be really, really beneficial, rather than taking enzymes. So I think we have to really look at, why are we getting symptoms? And when you've had your gallbladder removed, it's pretty obvious why you're getting those symptoms. If you haven't, then a cleanse is a really good way of going about it. I've written lots about, and I've done videos and things about gallbladder and liver cleanses and stuff. And so they're really relatively easy. Not always carnivore though, very seldom carnivore. There's some things you can do, but I'm not going to go into that today, because again, we'll be here all day, and I will see if I can dig up a liver gallbladder video that I've created. If I can't find it, I've made so blooming many of these videos that I can't find most of the stuff. But so I will put it on the group. And
Yes,
so
thank you.
I think, you know, even if you have had a gallbladder removed, I think it's really useful to do a cleanse anyway. So hello, Karen. Welcome. I see you got lost in your greenhouse. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, didn't have the time with me, and then I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, the Zoom's already started, so I had to rush
I
in.
think many people can't make it at this time of day anyway, so it's just really nice to have you lovely ladies join me. So I just decided to do Monday mornings because I thought it might help motivate people to keep going and to keep going. So just so that you know, I know many people who started the program, the 30 days, the 30 days is up tomorrow, I believe. And so I'm going to continue doing these at least for the next week, because I know some people didn't start until a week later, or maybe even later, but I'm going to be, I can't commit to more live Zooms beyond next Monday. So, because I've got so much to do, and in actual fact, I've got so much to do, I'm going to have to cut this short soon. So, any questions, Karen? Anything you want to know about? Anything you want to discuss with me before we do anything?
Well, yeah, what I was particularly interested in was the liver and how to detox it.
Yeah.
Specifically, that was my main inquiry.
Yeah, I've got a really good liver.
And also, I'd heard that. Why I wanted that information was because I had been listening to Dr. Andy Kaufman, and he was saying that night sweats and what else? There was something else. Can't remember the other thing, but he said it was linked to the liver struggling because it was like overloaded with toxins and needed to have a bit of a cleanse. So I thought it would be good to have a little focus on that.
Liver gallbladder flush is particularly good to do. And I would say this is when you do a liver cleanse, just be aware that emotions, unexpressed emotion can come out. And the liver specifically is linked to anger and frustration. And actually, my son pointed out yesterday, he got this post through about sadness and anger, and how sadness is basically unexpressed anger, where you're in a position where you can't express your anger. It comes up at a later date as sadness. And so if you find yourself sad, or, well, depression, sadness, what's the difference in many respects? It could be due to unexpressed anger that will actually still be root cause in the liver. And so the liver detoxification is actually quite easy, but you just have to do it for a 5-day period, 2 days off, and then you can do another 5 days if you choose. But basically, doing the 5 days. When I first did a liver flush, it was, oh gosh, 1990 something, early 90s. And you do this liver flush in the morning, or when you're breaking your fast. And basically on Wednesday, so I started on the Monday, on Wednesday, I woke up and I was mad as hell. And those of you who know me, I don't really get angry very easily. And I was just, my poor husband, honestly, really. And anyway, so I took myself out for a walk because I thought, what on earth's going on here? I've just got all this unexpressed, and basically I realized, and I was out on my walk, that it was the liver flash that was bringing all of this frustration and anger that I'd probably had for, because how old was I? I was in my 30s. And so consequently, for 30 years of frustration and anger, it started to come up. And when I realized what it was, everything sort of calmed down a bit. But I just thought I'd bring that up just in case anyone who's doing a liver flush or doing a liver cleanse, if it comes up, it'll be that. And so that's a really important component. And I will find the liver flush video. I'm sure I've done a live one where I showed everyone what to do. But if I haven't, I will create one because it's something that's going to be important to go forward. But it's also the quality of the ingredients that are really important. So making sure that they're organic and they're not carnivore. So just sort of throw that in. So in actual fact, I might try one which could be mainly carnivore. So watch this space. I will give it a go and I'll feed back to you next week. So yes, I'll do that. So it'll be including tallow. Just put it that way. So all right. Okay. So if you've got nothing else you want me to discuss, Keely, anything else you want to discuss with me? Because no, Karen,
No.
all good. And so, okay, my
I
lovely.
just wanted to
Yes.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah.
I just wanted to back what you were saying about liver being the emotions being linked, because when I worked in alcohol and drug addiction, it was well known that depression was suppressed grief or sadness. And then you have that that connection of alcoholism with the damage of the liver, cirrhosis and stuff
Yeah,
like
it
that.
becomes
So,
this sort of vicious cycle, doesn't it?
yeah. So
because if we look at grief, grief is uncried tears, which is linked with lungs. And when the lungs very often, linked with smoking, do people smoke because of the inability to express their emotion and stuff? We could go on for hours about this, couldn't we, Karen? So, but maybe we will one day. I think it would be a good one to talk about, because I think the emotion component of our health and well-being is actually the number one priority. And that actually brings me back to where we started, which you missed, Karen, was about feeding the brain. And so if we feed the brain, we're actually much more able to cope with so-called negative emotions. We're more able to step back and go, okay, how am I feeling? You can less reactive, I think, if we get the brain health good. So yes, okay, so thank you very much for joining me, ladies, and I appreciate you. And if you're watching this in the replay, I would appreciate anything you need to ask or anything below this. And I look forward to seeing you over the week and also Friday. Okay, have a magical week, everyone. Have fun, enjoy this, and see you very soon. Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
Karen, thanks. Bye.